Now information about the situation in the ATO zone presented by Ministry of Defense of Ukraine spokesperson on ATO-related issues, Colonel Andriy Lysenko. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Now the information about the events that happened in the ATO zone during the last 24 hours and about training of Ukrainian armed forces in the firing grounds. The Lugansk sector, right after midnight, subversive group of the enemy consisting of 7 people that moved from the occupied Frunze came up to positions of Ukrainian armed forces near Krymsky and opened fire at our positions. Servicemen of armed forces of Ukraine returned fire. In 1 hour, the enemy attack was successfully repelled. And at about 1 a.m., the enemy retreated to the forest in the direction of Frunze, and Ukrainian forces didn't sustain any losses in this clash, and now they try to identify the losses of the enemy. And in Trihizbinka, the enemy delivered fire with the use of mortars. Between 9 and 12 in the morning, the enemy delivered 1 armed provocation with the use of small arms at the railway station Donetsk, that is near Stanitsa Luganska and Nova Alexandrovka. And in the period between 5 and 10 p.m., the enemy delivered 1 mortar shelling in Krymska and 1 in Zolote. Yesterday in the Lugansk sector, there were 14 shellings delivered by the enemy, including 3 with the use of mortars. The Donetsk sector, between 5 and 6 p.m., the enemy delivered fire with the use of grenade launchers and small arms at Shakhta-Butovka position. After 11 p.m., Russian occupation forces were more active, and the enemy delivered fire with the use of weaponry of tank at Shakhta-Butovka position and Novilske. Yesterday in the Donetsk sector, there were 4 shellings of the militants. So in the Mariupol sector, the situation was tense, and positions in the north of the sector came under militants' fire. And at night, the enemy delivered 2 mortar shellings of Krasnogorovka, and in 1 shelling, the enemy used weaponry of tank. And also twice they used mortars of mortar shelling of Ukrainian positions, and according to General Staff, the militants launched about 50 shells at Krasnogorovka. Moreover, yesterday in the evening, Russian occupation forces opened fire at Novotroitsk with the use of grenade launchers of different systems and used weaponry of APCs. After 10 p.m., the enemy delivered 1 short-term artillery shelling of Shirokina. And yesterday in the Mariupol sector, there were 8 shellings delivered by the enemy, including 5 with the use of heavy weapons. During the last 24 hours, in the result of military actions, no Ukrainian serviceman was killed, but 1 Ukrainian serviceman was wounded in shelling near Shirokina. And near Novilske, 1 serviceman tripped a mine and died in the explosion. Our hearts go out to the relatives of the servicemen who died. SBU officers detained a woman who worked as a psychologist in the ranks of Russian occupation forces. It was identified that she joined the militants in mid-2014, and she selected those who wanted to become militants, and also she delivered aggressive propaganda. The woman was detained when she tried to get to the territories that are controlled by Ukrainian power. In Drushkivka, police officers detained the militant nicknamed Abrek. He joined the militants in July 2014. And during some time, he served in the 1st Slavyansk Battalion, Vostok, Aplot, Cossacks, and other units of the militants, and he actively participated in military actions. paratroopers training continue. Servicemen of 79th and 81st Brigade crossed Pivdena, Bugreva and Mykolaiv Oblast with the use of Ponton Bridge. And to repel air attack of the enemy, they established anti-aircraft complexes, and also they used small artillery caters, and also they had some military for paratroopers. And after this, they were deployed to Odeshina, and paratroopers were supported by air forces there. And the 79th Brigade servicemen also flew. They also used the vessels of the Marine Forces of Ukraine, and they had training for fighting for livability of the vessel and repel of the attack of the imaginary enemy from the sea. And also they landed, and they had firing exercises at a Leshkivka firing ground. And in the framework of Sea Breeze 2014, they had to training together with the Georgian and Romanian servicemen, and they participated in training on Tenderivsk bar in Khersonsk Oblast. They landed on the bar, and they freed it, and they used Yuri Lifirenko vessel and ships of a ship of Turkey Marine Forces, caters of border guard service, and also airplanes and helicopters. The task of this training is to improve practical skills of junior commanders, and to provide better coordination between the detachments. And also there was 1 week training for the servicemen of 9th Regiment of the National Guard. The aim of this exercise was to improve battle skills of the guardsmen, and also to have some firing exercises, and to train actions in offensive and defensive. Thank you. 1 minute, please. Questions? Thank you. Do you have information about the deputy being wounded? So maybe you have information. So the criminal investigation was started. Now there is criminal investigation ongoing, so I cannot provide any details on this. If there are no other questions, thank you.